We are live. It is episode 28, The Loose Lug Nuts. We turned left. We turned right. We had rain. We had ridiculous amounts of speedy dry. We had people getting chastained. We had teammates wrecking each other for the win. We had it all at Watkins Glen this weekend. And we are going to unpack it all, go through it all, and tell you all about it. Me, Aaron Simmons, Zachary Brandevold, we got you covered. Everything you want to know but we're afraid to ask. We'll get through it all tonight. So let's start. Zach, how are you today? How is life treating you?
Oh, pretty good. I had to work late, really late Monday because we had somebody quit and the other person was out on vacation. So I had to work really late until around like 9, 10 o'clock. And learn something new and do it at my job. So that was definitely a learning curve. Learned that I wasn't so good at dealing with people asking me for things constantly. But it's a learning curve, or it's a learning lesson. So I think I'll be better at it next time if I am so called upon to do it. But I'm excited to be here and talk about racing with you guys. And we got a lot to talk about.
Okay. All right. Aaron, what is up with you? How is life in Tennessee today?
Well, right now I'm not lagging, so that's a great start.
You gotta love that. You gotta love that.
First world problems and first world solutions. Oh, you gotta love them. It hits the soul. But today I am very tired. One of those rare Tuesdays where I had to go into work, all because in 3 days I am flying down to Florida for my week-long vacation. Finally, after 2 years in the making. 2 years in the making, this trip has been, and it is finally culminating together. And as an added bonus, my fat butt will be in Daytona for the Saturday night race, for the Cup race. I can't wait.
Woohoo!
Yeah, there you go.
I should have wore a green shirt for jealousy. So,
are you gonna do some live commentary for us?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm planning on getting like 3 of those those rechargeable battery packs for my phone. I'll give you guys like live updates on air at the track because hey, they can't copyright that now, can you, WWE? So
that's right.
Can't copyright live stream. So hey, oh my god, I'm so happy. I'm so tired, but I'm so happy.
There you go.
Cool.
I'm excited for you.
All right, so let's get into the racing. We had no truck race this weekend. None. Nothing. Zip, zilch, nada. No trucks at Watkins Glen.
No trucks allowed.
But we had the Xfinity race. So let's see if I can pull up a couple things here and do a couple things as we go through the Xfinity race. There is one thing I want to show you that was not a huge news story, but I did want to cover it because I thought it was really interesting. But I'll try to get to that without disrupting things too much. But the theme of the Xfinity race, and I think this is a preview of what we would see all weekend, seemed to be chaos, and more chaos. We had cars off the track. We had equipment failures. We had too much speedy dry. We had rain in the area, although it did not impact the race. And we had 8 cautions. By my count, the pace car led 27 laps of the race. That might have been the most of anybody, but we had 8 cautions. We had six Cup drivers drop down and do double duty, which made it very interesting. But despite the fact that you had 6 Cup drivers, including people like Kyle Larson, it seemed like to me the most impressive driver all day long was Ty Gibbs. But not to be outdone, second most impressive to me, maybe other than maybe third, maybe Kyle Larson was second, was 18-year-old Sammy Smith. Fourth Xfinity start, and he outduels AJ Allmendinger for a stage win. I mean, flat out took it to AJ Allmendinger and beat him. Everybody pitted among the leaders except for Allmendinger, and he was clearly staying out because he wanted that playoff point. So this is a stage win that Allmendinger wanted and got to restart up front, and Sammy Smith absolutely took it from him. So impressed with this 18-year-old in his 4th Xfinity start. when I was growing up, I used to hear a saying that if first you don't succeed, try and try again. And although I think that is a great motto for many things in life, I think Ty Gibbs took it to an extreme this weekend because he tried to go too wide through the bus stop at Watkins Glen. And he didn't just try it once and failed. He tried and tried again and tried again and tried again. By my count, there were about 4 different occasions where he was trying to go too wide through the bus stop. Last one being the most disastrous, where he and William Byron both spun with, I think, 4 to go, which handed the win to Kyle Larson on a silver platter. But AJ Allmendinger did a great job of putting on a good show, and I think he wound up only being 0.3 of a second back. It was like a car length separated them. But Kyle Larson winning and AJ Allmendinger following across the finish line, that was kind of the theme of the weekend. But a lot going on in that Xfinity race. So let's start with Aaron. Aaron, what did you think? What are your comments on the Xfinity race?
I think this is one of those races where the Xfinity race was a kind of like a precursor to the Cup race, but we'll get that. But we'll get to that later. Of course, yeah. I mean, Ty Gibbs looking as strong as ever this season. He potentially could have won this race. I think he and William Byron and Kyle Larson had the 3 best cars all day long. No one could compete with him until he made that really bonehead move again in the bus stop. But I mean, overall, just an insane race. I mean, I was watching this while I was work, and it just seemed like it's just a battle of attrition. I mean, it really seemed like a battle of whose car is going to break on them, because it seems like in the first 20 laps, I think like 6 or 7 drivers all were coming into the pits with some sort of mechanical failure or engine failure or tire failure or something, some kind of failure in the first 20 laps. And so I thought that was just very something that should be brought up. It's just Watkins Glen is tougher on cars than I guess you may think. Going most repeatedly and repeatedly. But yeah, I mean, also for Sammy Smith, I seriously thought he was just one of those Madden created characters, because I had no idea who he was until I started really watching him, kind of looking more into him, and thought, man, this guy's actually kind of good. Especially in an 18 ride that's been really hit or miss the last few years. I thought he did a really good job at Watkins Glen. I mean, especially from coming from the back to the front, and even outdoing Allmendinger at a road course. Not very many people can do that, and so he's got to be really proud of himself after this race, even though he didn't win. It's still a real good showing for the young kid.
Yeah, got a stage win, brought it home in 3rd place. Very impressive run. It's a name that I'm going to start paying attention to. So
absolutely, he's going to watch out for in the future.
Yeah. Okay, Zach, before we get to you, I want to show this. I thought this
Sure,
I didn't catch everything that was going on with this, but I clipped this off of my TV screen, and I'm going to share it. This big white line that you see all the way around here and all the way down the track and making the little turn here, that is speedy dry, okay? It is that thick, okay, all across the track, okay? And there is the truck back here putting it down, but I mean, you can look at it. That is not paint. I mean, that's so thick, it looks like you're seeing something painted on the track or something. That is speedy dry. I didn't quite catch what's going on. Zach filled me in on it, that apparently Sam Mayer put so much fluid down.
Myatt Snyder
put so much fluid down all across the track that NASCAR was telling him to stop because of the amount of fluid he was putting down. But he disregarded that and didn't stop till he got almost to pit road. So look at what these guys had to drive through, and look at how much that's down there. I mean, that looks like, I mean, I don't even know how to describe it. I've never seen that much speedy dry in my life.
They probably used a whole dump truck load or 4. I mean, I'll just get into it if you're done, Tom. Yeah. I'll start with this. If you want to pull up the original picture of that, I have something to show. But I guess we'll start with Myatt Snyder. What an idiot. He comes out of the garage, and after being damaged early, I think he ran over I think it was in the bus stop. He ran over something and tore the oil pan up. And he comes out on track, and probably by the S's, if not by the bus stop. NASCAR is telling him to stop and pull over and stop because he is leaking so much oil across the track. And he obviously didn't. And if you saw that, he was all over the track. It wasn't just like in one spot on the track where like the high line or something like that. He was zigzagging across the track. And apparently he made it all the way to pit lane and then stopped after he made it to pit lane. And so he didn't even make it back to the garage. And of course, this was like a 30-minute caution period in order to clean all of this up. Just ridiculous. I don't know what the hell he was doing. And now I don't know what he's doing.
I was so confused watching it because I saw them like they were getting ready to go back to green, and then you see this damaged car sitting in the track that they gotta get rid of, and they got to do more caution laps, and they're putting down the speedy dry, and I'm like, I didn't know what had happened. I'm like, did he wreck under caution? I was so confused until I didn't have any idea what had happened until you explained it to me right before the show.
Yeah, he was already wrecked and spraying oil everywhere after trying to get it repaired unsuccessfully. So, an idiot.
I mean, you say idiot. I say props to Matt Snyder for trying to complete the race. You know, I mean, at least he tried.
I'm fine if you try, but if NASCAR is telling you to pull over because you got an oil leak and they're having to clean the entire track, then excuse my French, but fuck over. Anyway, I thought it was a great Xfinity race. I think the ending was a little bit anticlimactic. I mean, yeah. as far as Ty Gibbs, we've seen him time and time again not give way, right? So his aggression level is through the roof, and that showed here today. Even though I thought he was faster, he probably could have gotten around him. He just didn't want to lift, and ultimately took himself out of the race. And William Byron, who probably was going to win that thing in the end, but yeah, I thought it was crazy. But good for Kyle Larson and AJ Allmendinger.
I was listening to the post race on the radio, and I thought what was interesting is hearing him talk about the post race. They were giving us the play-by-play of the William Byron, Ty Gibbs post race confrontation, which was actually pretty calm. They just, I guess, said their piece about it and whatever and moved on. But what I thought was really interesting is in the post race, they're like, and now there's a line of drivers that want to talk to Ty Gibbs. There's Noah Gragson, there's whoever. It's like he's the guy. If you want to punch him in the face, get in line over here. You're like number 8 in line.
He's like the Ross Chastain of the Xfinity series, and and apparently he might be moving to Cup next season, so we might have 2 Chastains.
Oh God. Oh, the chaos that's going to bring.
Yeah.
Lord.
But anyway.
All right. Anything else to add on Xfinity before we move up to the Cup Series? Okay. All right. Let's jump into the Cup race. First thing that is the Cup race is they did this broadcast radio style, which means that you have each commentator is covering a certain section of the track. So you had Mike Bagley covering the turn 1 and the S's. You had Dale Jr. doing the carousel and the bus stop. You had Jeff Burton, I think, turn 6 and 7. I loved it. I will also tell you, I'm a huge fan of Mike Bagley. As I've said this, I think Mike Bagley could come over to your house and describe paint drying, and he could make it exciting. But I love the radio style broadcast. We actually got to see what wet tires look like on this new car. If I'm not mistaken, that's the first time we've seen rain tires on this next gen car, which was really cool and really kind of interesting. Toyotas, again, abysmal at a road course. They had one car in the top 10, and nobody else in the Toyota camp finished better than 20th. Ross Chastain, he's become a verb now. You got Chastained. This week it happened to be Kimi Räikkönen, which was really unfortunate. F1 driver from Finland, I believe.
Yep.
His only NASCAR race. A lot of people really wanted to see what he could do. He was having a great run and kind of got taken out. I'm not sure it was completely Ross's fault, but Ross was involved in it. All those were like the undercard, though, leading up to the big finish where you got teammates going at it. Kyle Larson goes into turn one. Depending on how you want to view it, if you're a Larson fan, you say he made a mistake and he locked up the brakes. If you're an Elliott fan, you say he got used up by Larson. But either way, you had two teammates going door to door with 4 to go. And Chase Elliott, unfortunately, really, I think, had the best car all day long, gets the short end of the stick and winds up, I think he bounced back to a 4th place finish, but that handed the win over to Kyle Larson. Chase Elliott, I want to know how hard he was biting his tongue in those post-race comments, because he really didn't whine, didn't complain, didn't say anything controversial, but it's just like you could just feel the frustration coming out of him. So I'm sure it's going to be an interesting meeting at Hendrick Motorsports this week when they all sit down to talk about it. But at the end of the day, Kyle Larson, first time I think since Auto Club back in February, I think, he returns to victory lane. He may be heating up right as the playoffs are starting, which is something none of the competition wants to see. But those are kind of the highest. What do you guys think? What do you guys want to talk about from the Cup Series?
I'll first last time. Zach, are you going to go this time?
Sure. One thing that I want to say is I think the rain was a big talking point this weekend after the race, and trying to get that race started, right? I think I might be in the minority here by saying I think NASCAR did the right thing. They learned from the mistakes at COTA, and they knew that it wasn't able to be driven on. Pulled the cars in, and they tested it several different times. I think that was the right call by NASCAR. I'm happy that they did it. There was a river running through the S's, and then puddles on the bus stop that they had to get rid of. And obviously, I don't know if you guys saw the broadcast during that time, but they were running the Air Titans. And even during when we ended up starting the race, there was still a lot of standing water on the track as well. Not as much as what it would have been. So I ultimately think they did the right call and delayed it until they could get the Titans out there. And, like I said, I think I'm in the minority in that, but I think they did a good job with that. And then, to me, the other interesting thing is seeing all the different strategies that played out on Sunday. We saw so many different strategies. And I think that partially has to do with how the race started in the wet. But we saw some guys taking fuel only, some 2 tires, some 4 tires. I mean, Elliott's and Larson stayed on the wets, up until, 17 or from lap 1 to lap 17 more than any other driver. And ultimately, I think we saw several different people who started in the back. Eric Jones is one of them. So is Christopher Bell. Kevin Harvick was in the back most of the day as well, and they all ended up finishing inside the top 15. There's probably more that I'm missing, but crazy to see the amount of different strategies that we saw and the ultimate finishing positions that we saw.
Yeah, I got to say, I think NASCAR made the right call simply because I was out back to school shopping with my kids and would have missed the first hour and a half of the race anyway. So I appreciate them delaying the start of it until I could get back home to watch it live. So thanks, NASCAR. All about me. I appreciate you recognizing that.
It's about time, right?
Yep. If more people in the world would realize that it's all about me, I personally would be much happier.
Yeah.
Absolutely, man.
All right.
I tell that to Haley all the time.
Not about me though. Yeah, racing news. So Zach, you want to take us through things that are not about me in the racing world?
Absolutely. So first story that we got for you guys today is that Kurt Busch, it was announced actually right before Watkins Glen. We missed it by our podcast by a couple of days, but Kurt Busch is set to miss the rest of the regular season as he hopes to be back in the car for Darlington. What are you guys' thoughts on this? Aaron, let's start with you.
I mean, thanks to what happened at Watkins Glen, Kurt Busch has already secured a spot into the chase. So why not take that week off, or take that week and Daytona week off to try and rest and recover to the best of his abilities? Because I think we all know what it's like to try and play with an injury, especially when it's mental. It does not get better. It only gets worse. And I really think what Dale Jr. went through all those years ago with his concussion symptoms lingering on, I think that really put that fear back in the driver's hands and saying, "Oh yeah, I mean, even though this car is a lot safer, we still need to be careful with this." And I think that's what Kurt Busch is going to be doing. I mean, all the best luck to Kurt Busch, and hope he recovers well, and he'll be back in the car by Darlington, because I sure did miss him in the car. Even though Ty Gibbs is doing a really good job in that 45, it just feels empty without Kurt Busch there for some reason to me. Even though I really wasn't a Kurt Busch fan, it still feels empty to me not seeing him there anymore. So I hope it gets well, and hope he's back in the car by Darlington.
What about you, Tom?
Okay, I'm going to kind of. I got a little bit to say here.
Okay, go ahead.
Some of this is fact, some of this is opinion, but I feel like right now, at where we are in the history of what we understand about traumatic brain injuries, we are at the infancy. Okay, that this is like the equivalent of being in the 1800s when you're talking about seizures. That 50 years from now or 100 years from now, we're going to look back and realize how little we understood about the human brain, about how it responds to injury, about how it heals. Okay, that's just where I feel like we are in history right now. I know we've made a lot of strides, but I still feel like we are compared to what we know about other parts of the human body and other injuries and other illnesses. I feel like we just know very little right now. What we do know is that the brain is very delicate, that it heals on its own timeline. And the worst thing you can do is have back-to-back brain injuries. Okay, that if you come back from a concussion too early and suffer another one, the setbacks can be tremendous, and they can be, instead of weeks or months to overcome, they can be years. So I am so glad that Kurt Busch is taking the time to come back when it is right and not too soon. But at the same time, when we're hearing about it's another week, it's another week, it's another week, it really makes me concerned about just how serious this is. And I am really much more concerned about Kurt Busch and his person and his family life and how he's going to be for the next 50 years on this planet, as opposed to how he's going to be for the next 10 races. The longer we go, and I am not advocating he come back early at all. I'm advocating he stay as long as he need to, but I'm just really concerned about his overall health the longer this goes on. So, I had to take a concussion course just to coach U6 or U8 soccer when my son was playing. And the things you learn in that, I mean, that's nothing compared to what, these neurologists know, was just amazing and shocking about how delicate the human brain is and what it takes for it to recover. So I wish Kurt the best, but I'm really concerned for his health, and I'm much more concerned for the next 50 years of his life than the next 10 races. So that's that. I'll wrap it up with that.
Yeah, I agree. We definitely want to see Kurt Busch back in the car healthy. Ultimately this comes down to a decision by the doctor. He put his faith in the doctor's hands to tell him when he thinks that he could be back ready and going. It's the same doctor that was treating Dale Earnhardt Jr. So, ultimately it's not going to be his decision as to whether or not he wants to go. It's, he's going to be healthy whenever he decides, or whenever he gets back in the car. But one thing that I question, what would happen to his playoff spot if he isn't ready for Darlington? That's one thing that hasn't been talked about is, if he's not able to go for the first round, 3 races, and they should have an inkling as to whether or not that's actually feasible right now. Because they have a timeline. But what would happen to that playoff spot? And I don't know. I don't know what NASCAR does. I think that's something that needs to be discussed as well, because ultimately he doesn't really have control and when he comes back. So I don't know. I don't know what happens. But
I mean, only time will tell at this point.
Yeah. Moving right along, Ryan Blaney and Penske agree to a long-term contract extension. What are you guys' thoughts on this, Tom? Let's start with you.
Okay. Once again, Zach, you filled me in on the whole Myatt Snyder thing. You may need to fill me in here. Is this the most vague contract announcement ever? All I see is long-term extension. We don't know any of the terms. We don't know by long-term, do we need 2 years? Do we need 3 years? Do we need 5 years? Do we like really? If you're going to bother to tell us you extended the contract, could we at least get a number? But it just says long term, and that's it with absolutely no details. So I'm like, really? Come on. If you're going to share something, share something. Otherwise, don't put it out there. But I'm like, long term. Okay, what does that mean? So I was kind of disappointed that we didn't get more information.
Yeah, I agree. What about you, Aaron?
Yeah, kind of same thing here. But then again, NASCAR and drivers learning about contracts and or at least fans knowing about driver contracts is still kind of the same deal. I mean, we sometimes it will allows people behind the veil and kind of know some of the terms of the contract more than often is going to be how many years they're going to be with the organization. But in terms of like pay and salary, no, you can just forget it. It's only until like it is leaked to the public that they find that out. I mean, hell, just last year we found out that Daniel Hemrick wasn't really being paid to drive for Joe Gibbs until unless he got like top 5 or something. So, I'm not real surprised that that is still very vague, but still, not real surprising. But just in terms of the re-signing with Ryan Blaney, it was going to be obvious. Penske and Blaney have such a good relationship right now. Blaney, even though he hasn't really done a whole lot this year in terms of wins, he is dang consistent. And that's kind of what Penske is just going off right now. It's just consistency. And I'm sure Kyle Busch is asking a huge sum of money that Penske right now is not really wanting to buy. And so that could also factor into just going and re-signing Ryan Blaney because he's younger. So I'm not really surprised by this. Still kind of disappointed on the vagueness of the contract.
Yeah. I'm happy for Ryan Blaney. I think this brings some continuity to Penske at a time where they kind of need it. Joe Logano and Ryan Blaney are the faces of Penske right now in NASCAR. And I think Austin Cindric is holding his own, but still has a lot to learn. One thing that really, on a somewhat similar note, concerns me is the fact that Ryan Blaney only has 7 wins in 9 years and hasn't really made it out of the round of 8. He's consistent when it matters. He can log a lot of points, but when the playoffs happen, he tends not necessarily to really show up. So I think that's not really in Penske's wheelhouse to kind of sign drivers to long-term contracts that, haven't won a championship or made it very far. I like the guy a lot. He's my favorite driver in NASCAR. I want to see more out of him. I don't know what he needs. Maybe it's car related, crew chief related. But he needs to turn the page and he should get a win this season. And that would go a long way to changing that kind of narrative. But, it's kind of interesting to me to see this long-term contract extension on Penske's side. There's both positives and negatives, but ultimately really happy for the both of them that they continue that continuity.
Yeah.
But moving right along, contrary to previous reports, Eric Almirola still has not decided on returning to SHR for 2023. What are your guys' thoughts on this? Aaron, let's start with you.
Eric Almirola, please don't turn to Brett Favre. Please don't. We can't keep. We will not go through this again. I don't think it's really for Eric Almirola. I think it's mainly just for Smithfield wanting to raise some cane about their driver leaving the sport. Is one thing it is, because Eric was dead set on leaving NASCAR at the end of the season, and all of a sudden when when talked again to be public that Smithfield was going to pretty much leave SHR Racing unless they get Eric Almirola back in that car. Then all of a sudden Eric wants to stay in. I don't know. I kind of find it hard to believe that is just solely Eric's decision to stay in NASCAR. Or maybe it's more of like a monetary kind of say, hey, if you stay in here, we'll pay more money towards you, kind of deal. Is what I think this is, but who knows? It's just my opinion. I have no facts to back this up, but I was kind of going along the basic current events of Eric wants to leave. Smithfield is racing Canis Storehouse Racing. Also, Eric is pondering on not retiring. And so I'm trying to connect the dots, and maybe I'm connecting dots where there's not any, but that's just me.
Fair enough. What about you, Tom?
Well, I think, if I'm Tony Stewart, I'm sitting here and I'm saying, okay, Brett Favre, you need to either make up your mind or I'm going to make it up for you. Because, I'm sitting here saying, okay, listen, Brett, I got to put a driver in this car next year. And if it's not going to be you, I need to know who it's going to be. And, I've got to have a sponsor for the car. And if it's not you, then I got to find somebody to replace Smithfield. And, I'm sorry, but Brett Favre, Kyle Busch is out there lurking, and you need to know whether I have a seat and I can go court him or not. But it's like if I'm Tony Stewart, I have a limited tolerance for this before I am either saying you either make up your mind or I'm going to make it up for you.
Absolutely, yeah. I think decision needs to be made. It's crazy to me that we've waited this long and we don't have an answer. I think reports and rumors are that he is going to resign, but why is Eric Almirola still saying publicly at Watkins Glen that he is still not resigned? Is he waiting on money to be right? Is it familial thing? I mean, ultimately, I think that the longer they wait, the worse that it's hurting for SHR unless they know that Almirola is returning. Because there's not going to be any options. And to get a sponsorship package together for 2023 when you're 5 months away is near impossible. I would just say impossible, because if you look at the Kyle Busch situation, they haven't found a sponsor. Even as of 2 months ago, people were saying that he wasn't going to return to the 18 because of that. So, and they have been searching. So I think this decision needs to be made for both of their sakes, and ultimately, I think it does happen. I just think that either the numbers or it needs to sit right with him. Ultimately, I wish him the best in the decision, and hopefully, it happens here soon. But moving right along, the fourth news topic is Trackhouse is set to expand the Project 91 NASCAR Cup Series plans for 2023, running up to 8 races. What are you guys' thoughts on this? Tom, let's start with you.
Justin Marks is not satisfied with a 2-car team. He has visions of being the next Joe Gibbs Racing or being the next Hendrick Motorsports. This is them working their way up towards getting a charter somewhere and running a third full-time team. This is a great way to work your way up there. They're running a limited schedule. They're not committed to a driver. They're going international. I don't know how this international thing plays out. It may open up different sponsorship opportunities that we may not see if you're doing a US-based driver. I mean, I don't know what kind of sponsorships or connections Kimi Räikkönen can bring with him from Finland. If you put him in a car next week, that he may be able to bring a sponsor in. And I don't know what other big international names might be able to do this. I think it's a great move by Justin Marks. I think it is laying the groundwork to have a third team, because now you're going to have a pit crew, an engineer, everything you need, a crew chief. You're going to have chassis and bodies and people at the shop where you're working your way towards a third team. I think that's the ultimate goal. And I think Justin Marks is thinking big. I don't think it's going to stop with 3 teams when he gets there in a couple of years. I think he's going to be 4 teams at some point. But no, I think it's a great move. I think it brings more international exposure and expands the fan base for NASCAR. I think it opens up additional sponsorship opportunities. I see nothing but good things with this.
What about you, Aaron?
Yeah, same thing. I mean, I don't see how anyone can poke holes in this and say this is a terrible thing for the sport, because it's not. This is a fantastic sport. I mean, if it weren't for Ross Chastain, Kimi could have had a top 5 at Watkins Glen. I wouldn't say a win, but I mean,
top
he
5.
looked, top 5, because he looked damn impressive for his first time. His first time in a heavy fendered car. And I thought he did really well. I mean, he put a damn good block on Chase Elliott, the dominant car of the day, and put a great block on him. When again, he's like halfway through the race, he's already feeling that confident. I mean, yeah, freaking go for it. Why not? But yeah, I'm kind of agreeing with Tom. I think Marks is a man of ambition. He is not satisfied with what he's got. He wants to go big. And for the fact that he's trying to bring in all of these, all these other names from outside the U.S., like Kimi Räikkönen, is just a fantastic combination. I mean, honestly, I'm scrolling through this right now, and if you've watched the SRX series, you've known that Helio Castroneves, he's been thinking about going NASCAR racing, maybe for like a race, maybe 2, if our opportunity came up. This is a good opportunity for Helio to put his money where his mouth is and saying, "Hey, here's a ride for you. Give it a shot." I mean, what's he have to lose? Yep. So, screw it, go for it.
Yeah, I'm really happy about this. Their plans for 2023. I think it's nothing but positive for not only Trackhouse but also NASCAR, getting those international eyes. I saw the ratings this morning, and they didn't seem too expanded, but for a road course race, I think they exceeded expectations. I think it was around the same as you saw last week. I think it was like around 2.5, almost 3 million viewers, which is pretty good for a road course, because I don't think typically the trend for road courses is not very high as far as viewership goes, but awesome. Who would you guys like to see in the 91?
I think we know Mark's response.
Yeah,
I'm sure you guys have like Jimmy Johnson. Let's go.
Okay, Jimmy's not international though. That's the problem. Justin Marks said that Team 91 is an international driver. I don't know, but I would like to say, okay, Räikkönen, first time in one of those cars at a place where he's going up against the best in the world. He didn't get in one of those cars in an Xfinity series or truck and had a solid top 10 run going. That very well, and I'm just speculating, that may have been the first time he has ever raced a car with a fender on it.
He actually ran a truck race and an Xfinity race with Kyle Busch Motorsports. Motorsports. Yeah. But this was years ago. This was back in like a
decade ago.
Yeah, this was back in 2011. But Cup car is completely different nowadays. So but
can't say enough about how impressed I was with him.
Yeah.
You know what? I may have to come back to who I would like to see in there. I don't know. Let me think about that one a little bit.
Yeah. Well, we saw Marcus Ericsson, the Indy 500 champion this year, show interest. He was tweeting at Trackhouse to contact his reps because he's interested. We saw Jenson Button, who was a Formula One champion, another one over the seas, that was very interested as well. There's a lot of people that saw this and saw how well he was able to hold his own. I think there was also some concern with some of the Cup Series drivers that they were going to get shown up by Kimi Räikkönen, and obviously that didn't happen. And I think it was not only good for NASCAR that didn't happen, to show that, it's not easy driving a stock car. It's not. But also to see that, you can be somewhat successful. I think it was a win-win for both, not only Trackhouse, not only NASCAR, but anybody interested, which I think it's now we have now more people interested than ever in running a NASCAR, which is so awesome in my opinion.
Yeah.
Do you know who you would pick, Aaron?
I think I know who I want to pick, but I was going to ask the question. How much to get Juan Pablo Montoya back?
I would love to see it.
Bring back Montoya.
I would love to see it. I would love to see it, especially in that Trackhouse car. Especially in that Trackhouse car. Yeah.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
But on that, I think this is exactly what 23XI should have done with their entry for this season. They should have run a part-time schedule in order to get those crews ready. I mean, now we're seeing issues with Toyota pit crews, right? And they should have done this. This is exactly what 23XI should have done. And I think this is perfect, because I do agree with you, Tom, that I think Trackhouse's plan is to expand to 3 or 4 teams. And this is their sneakily way of doing it and paying for it, writing the check. But do you have anybody that you'd be interested in seeing?
We've already heard the name, but Helio Castroneves, seeing what he could do in the SRX series, and just the effervescent persona that he has. He brings tons of personality along with him, and he's got that smile and he's got that contagious enthusiasm. That's one that definitely comes to mind. Not international, but another SRX name, Ernie Francis Jr., Trans Am guy. Would love to see him. But again, he's probably out because he's not international. But Castroneves, I like Juan Pablo Montoya too.
Yeah.
I like that.
I don't think it necessarily has to be non-Americans, because I think it's just so much as it's like from different series, right? I think you can be an American and still run an IndyCar only and still get in, but I don't know for sure. I would have to look at it.
And well, they said international drivers, which means outside the U.S.
Fair enough. I'm not 100% certain on that. I thought it was more just people who raced in different series, and that's why maybe Jimmy Johnson would qualify, but I don't know. Regardless,
yeah, I'm not sure Johnson would qualify, but still, I mean, it.
I would love to see Kimi again. I would love to see him finish a race, because I think it was on it, and he has a lot of success at COTA in his Formula One career. Imagine having a Formula One driver on COTA, who's run there before, and he's familiar with the track. Now he's familiar with the car. I think it would be a perfect match to see that happen. And I think it should happen. Another driver that I would love to see, and I don't think it'll happen in at least for a few years until he retires from Formula One, but Fernando Alonso. Remember, he swapped cars with Jimmy Johnson. I think it was in 2018.
Oh, that's right. Yep.
And he loved it. So I would love to see him run in NASCAR in this Project 91 car. And then, I wouldn't mind seeing maybe somebody like Scott Dixon or Will Power, IndyCar Titans, come run over in NASCAR and see how they do. I think it would be awesome. But not to mention, they also have oval experience too. So, that's where I don't think we need to limit it necessarily to road courses with some of these IndyCar drivers.
Yeah, but I mean, either way, whoever gets in that seat is going to be deserving of that seat.
Yeah,
let's just put it that way. And this is, again, points back to the fact that this is a fantastic opportunity to, again, get the sport into into not just a national American audience, but a worldwide audience.
Exactly. And it's opening you see it in Xfinity. Marco Andretti is going to be running in Xfinity as well. at the Roval later this year. So
Yep, I can't wait for that.
If we're talking about bringing back international guys that have NASCAR experience,
I think I know what you're talking
if
about.
you're going to bring back Juan Pablo Montoya, I want to bring back Marcus Ambrose.
Yep.
Ambrose, I was just thinking of Ambrose.
I realize that may not be as exciting as somebody who's never driven NASCAR, but if we're talking about it on the list, put him on there.
Yeah, I mean, I want to see Ambrose back at Sonoma just so he can get revenge for that win that, granted, he screwed himself out of, but still, just it's a feel-good story for Ambrose just to get that win back at Sonoma.
Yeah, absolutely. But
all right, we got to move. We got to move on. Interesting stuff, though. Interesting stuff. We can talk about that all night.
Yes, it is.
But we are up to who's hot, who's not. So last week I had said that who's hot was international NASCAR because we had drivers from 7 different countries in there. And boy, it worked out pretty well. The international guys and guys from different disciplines put on a pretty good show. But this week, who's hot, who's not? Aaron, who you got for who's hot and who's not?
For my who's hot, I was going to go with Zach's pick, but then I realized he already got him. And so I guess for my who's hot this week, I got to go with Chris Buescher. I mean, again, with Roush Fenway Keselowski equipment, not great equipment. Let's just go ahead and put it bluntly. The last 6 races, a top 5 and 3 top 10 finishes. Not numbers to stand out at, but hey, for Roush equipment, that is really good. So I got to give it to him, Chris Buescher. He's making significant progress this season. I only hope that next season or by the end of this season, he will finally get a win. Actually, he already has a win, but get a more legitimate win since his win came in the fog race at Pocono. But anyway, I digress. Anyway, for my who's not, I got to go with the guy we were just talking about I think half an hour ago now, Eric Almirola. The last 6 races, 1 top 10 and 2 top 20s. Just horrible performances from Eric. Even when Briscoe and even Kevin Harvick has come back to form. Cole Custer, we're not going to talk about Cole Custer. He's a bust. But yeah, Eric not looking great for that number 10 car.
Okay. All right, Zach, who you got for who's hot and who's not?
All right, for my who's hot, I'm going to go with Joey Logano. He has 2 top 5s, 4 top 10s, and 5 top 20s in the past 6 races. He's finished his finishes of 4th, 6th, and 3rd since the Indy Road Course. He's led more laps in the past 4 races than he has all season, with over 250 in those 4 races. 2 of his 4 stage wins have also come in the past 4 races, with a total of 46 stage points, over those past 6 races, which sits only behind Larson and Elliott over that span. As far as my who's not, I'm going to go with Ross Chastain. He only has 1 top 10 and 2 top 20s in the past 6 races. He's not finished higher than 18th since New Hampshire, despite leading 125 laps in that span. And his average of finish of 21.7 ranks 8 worse over full-time drivers.
Yeah. Ross is having a tough time right now.
Yeah, kind of fell off a cliff.
I don't think it's going to get better for him as the playoffs loom.
I don't think it's going to get easier for him because I don't think, he's got so many guys out there who want to race him hard now because they've had bad experiences with him that it's not going to get easier for him.
And there's guys that are probably not going to make the playoffs that are going to be pissed off at him. So, they got nothing to lose.
Yeah, the most dangerous guy is a guy that has nothing left to lose.
Okay. All right. It's time for my who's hot, who's not. And I can't believe you guys left this one open for me. I absolutely cannot believe you guys got to pick first and you just left the door wide open on this. Who's hot? Kyle Larson and AJ Allmendinger. They went 1-2 in both races over the weekend. But it was like the Cup finish was a replay of the Xfinity finish with Larson winning and AJ Allmendinger second. So those two were 1-2 both races all weekend, put on a good show in both of them. So I am saying those two are my who's hot for the week. Now, for my who's not, I am just continuing to beat a drum that I started on last week. The Toyotas on road courses are not hot. You had 7 Toyotas at the Watkins Glen race Sunday. 6 of the 7 finished 20th or worst. They had 1 top 10, which was Christopher Bell with an 8th place finish. And that means in the last 4 road course races, combined 4 road courses, they have 2 top 10 finishes. So Toyotas, as much as they were showing some speed there coming into the road course races, they have not got the road courses figured out with this new car. So Toyotas on road courses is my who is not.
And just to give you how bad Toyotas are at road courses, a Rick Ware racing car beat Kyle Busch.
Ooh. Kyle Busch ran into the wall.
I was so did the guy that beat him. Joey Hand smacked the wall, and he still beat Kyle Busch.
Oh.
Joey Hand in the 15 beat Kyle Busch at a road course. Never would I see the day where a Rick Ware car legitimately beat Joe Gibbs' car.
I think.
Let's move on.
Oh my god!
To green flag, red flag, and so Aaron, take us through green flag, red flag, and can you? We got some new viewers tuning in this week, so can you explain to them green flag, red flag, and their participation in this?
All right, so viewers, this is kind of our interactive segment for the show. I believe have 1, 2, 3, 4 statements we're going to cover. It's kind of like our sorry for that squeal if you heard that. Not sure what they're doing. So anyway, Zach, Tom, and I will kind of go through these statements and give our quick opinions about them. We'll give a green flag for them, which means we agree with the statements, or a red flag, which will indicate that we disagree with the statements. And viewers at home, you can leave your opinions in the comments section. And kind of tell us what you think of these statements, because it is always fun reading your comments and kind of get more feedback and kind of new points of view, which we didn't think of. And so with our first statement of the night, green flag or red flag, Elliott is going to retaliate for Larson's move for the win at some point this season. Green flag or red flag, Tom, we will start with you first.
I'm going to say green flag. I think he will. I don't think he shies away from this. He's not shied away from rivalries with people like Kevin Harvick. I think it's going to be subtle. I don't think it's going to be an obvious wreck. I think it's going to be something where he can defend himself in it. It's going to be, you know what? I got into turn 1 and the car just pushed up. The car was really tight and it just washed up the track on me. Hated that Kyle was above me, but the car just got tight on me. It's going to be something like that where he runs him up the track, or, I just got into the corner too hot and happened to tag his bumper. I don't think it's going to be completely blatant. I don't think he'll wreck him, but I think he'll retaliate at some point before the season is over. So I'm saying green flag.
Okay. Zach, what do you think?
I'm along the same lines, but I'm going to say red flag, because I don't think it's going to be him moving him up. I think he's just not going to cut him any breaks. If he's behind him, he's going to make it hard for him to pass. If, he's kind of Newman him, in my opinion, because when you look at it, they're Hendrick drivers. They're both running for the championship. You're not going to want to put, as an organization, you're not going to want to put one of your drivers at risk because you're going to run him into the wall or move him up the track, potentially get him into a wreck at some point. You're going to make life hard for the driver, but I don't think that you're going to retaliate in that way. So I'm going to say red flag, but I don't think that Elliott has anybody to blame but himself for not picking the low line on that restart, in my opinion. But yeah, I'm going to say red flag.
So I guess for my court order, I will have to go probably. I'm going to go green flag. I'm going to kind of do a mix of both of you. I think Chase Elliott is going to retaliate, but like what you said, Zach, and just kind of pull a Newman. He won't cut him really any major breaks. He won't try and get out of the way. If Larson has a run, he'll try and block if it's opportune for him, but he won't make it look obvious either. But yeah, I mean, this is like the third time this season. I know one at Auto Club, of course, today or Sunday at Watkins Glen. I think there's like maybe one or two other times where Larson has kind of quote unquote cost Elliott a win. But I mean, you got to think that's got to be weighing heavy on Chase's mind. Where he already has 4 wins. He already locked up the regular season championship, but he could have like 5 or 6 wins, which ultimately doesn't really matter in the long scheme of things. But still, I mean, there's 2 wins that he could have gotten. So I'm going to go green flag. I think Chase is going to quote unquote retaliate, but it's just going to be more of a Newman thing. It's kind of be hard to pass. And so, with that said, let's see. I got Mike Horror saying green flag. You pull Harvick and end up wrecking himself. I think Chase is going to be smarter than that. And got Mark Thomas will agree with the red flag. So kind of like a mixed bag here between you guys. Also, again, please send in your comments. We absolutely love to read these. All right. So for number 2 of the night. Let's see. Okay, yeah, here we go. I'm mixing them up. So, with AJ Allmendinger and Ty Gibbs running in the Xfinity Series, the talent level between Cup and Xfinity has never been closer. Green flag or red flag? Zach, we'll start with you this time.
I'm gonna say green flag. I mean, they're getting more opportunities to run in the Cup Series, which I think is kind of beneficial for the Xfinity Series drivers that are doing that. And we're seeing them be successful. I mean, even truck drivers like Zane Smith hopping in the truck and doing well, or just hopping into the Cup car and doing well. I think it shows how strong each fields are. So I'm gonna say green flag.
All right, Tom, what say you?
I'm going to say green flag too. I mean, when you got Ty Gibbs and AJ Allmendinger, and we saw them absolutely go toe to toe with not just 1 or 2 Cup drivers, but there were 6 in the field Sunday, and they went toe to toe at the front of the field and quite honestly outclassed about 3 or 4 of those Cup drivers. And I think the talent level goes beyond that. You've got Noah Gragson, who's ready to move up into Cup next year. You've got Sammy Smith, who gave AJ Allmendinger all he could handle. You've got AJ Allmendinger, who has a win at the Cup level, even though he is an Xfinity Series driver. I think this is probably the gap between Cup and Xfinity as far as talent level is probably, in my opinion, closer than it's ever been. I'm going green flag on this one.
Okay. All right, I believe it's up to me, and I will have to say green flag. I mean, usually when Cup drivers go down into the I guess Busch Series level, it's going to be Cup drivers all day. Don't even bother rooting for the Xfinity drivers because they're going to get beat. But I think with this new talent pool, they're getting better. Of course, I think the Cup drivers still have a major advantage in the Xfinity level. I mean, think about it. You had Ty Gibbs was up there, but then you had William Byron and Kyle Larson, two Cup drivers up there battling along with him. Of course, you had Tyler Reddick going for a one-shot or one race deal at Texas and just beating everybody at Texas. It wasn't close, but he still won. Then you had Cole Custer absolutely just crush the field at Auto Club and left everybody in his dust. So it's getting closer, but it's not an outright domination by the Cup drivers this season. And so I'll have to get a green flag, but there's still a lot of improvement for the Xfinity drivers to go to.
Absolutely.
All right. We got Mark Klebe. I think he meant to say Xfinity. Not Infinity. He meant to say Xfinity, and so I will say
That's autocorrect jumping in there on him. I bet.
that's autocorrect. So thank you, Mark, for your comment. Then we got Mike with the green flag. So everybody going green flag here. And all right. So with that said, we'll go on to our third green flag, red flag question of the night. Although they didn't finish the race, Project 91 should be considered a success. I'm gonna say huge, but I'll read
huge success. Sure.
Yeah, sure. All right, green flag or red flag? Let's see. I think Zach can start with you first. Last time, so Tom, you are up. What do you think?
Oh, green flag. Putting a guy in a car he's really, I'm going to say never raced again, even though he has a couple of races many years ago in Xfinity and truck. Type of car he's never been in at a track he hasn't ran since I don't know when, and he runs top 10 until he gets taken out. And quite honestly, might have done better, because you got to believe that it was so new to him that the more laps he got, he was probably going to get better every lap. Yeah, this is a huge success on every front, from exposure to showcasing driving talent, to expanding the NASCAR fan base, to where he ran, everything other than the finish, which he really couldn't control because he kind of got taken out. Yeah, I think it was a success about any way you can measure it. Green flag.
Okay, and Zach, what say you?
Yeah, I gotta agree. I mean, so they were talking with Darian Grubb, which was his crew chief, funnily enough, because I remember him back from the Carl Edwards days. And they were trying to predict where he would have finished before that wreck. And I think they said anywhere from 15th to 13th is their range that they were looking at finishing, because other people were on different strategies. We saw that, like Logano took fuel only. So, yeah, if that was their range, I think I would have said that top 20 would have been like a humongous success, but top 15, I mean, easily a terrific performance. I mean, when you look at it, he probably would have beaten Ross Chastain at that moment, because Ross Chastain had issues later on. I don't think he was going to be Daniel Suarez level. I don't think he was going to be that level. But like I said, top 15, humongous success. And I think I hope that Kimi comes back and does it again and actually is able to finish, because I think he deserves it after everything.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's my turn to go up, and I got to say, without question, without debate, put your hands down. It is absolutely green flag. I mean, like I said, he could have finished top 5 if he absolutely pushed that car to everything he's got, but it's his first time, so I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Absolute green flag. Project 91 was a huge success. And I mean, if they're already expanding it to 8 races and possibly getting a 4th car next season, I mean, that should tell you everything you need to know about this question. Absolutely 100% green flag. Absolutely 100%. And God, I was like glued to my seat while I was working. Let's just put it that way. Just trying to focus on Kimi Räikkönen and kind of see where he is, because man, not often do you get a championship Formula 1 driver going into a NASCAR Cup car. That does not happen. So I want to see where he did, and he did very well for his first time out. So absolutely 100% green flag all the way, no debate. I believe Mike Hora speaks for all of us. Also in a related note, Kimi wants to come back. I did not hear that.
I think I saw maybe or heard a post-race interview where they were saying, what did you think? Did you have a good time? Is this something you want to do again? And he was saying how much he enjoyed Watkins Glen and everything. But I also say, you put him in that position. That's the answer you give the media. There is no scenario where they say, would you like to do it again? Where you say, hell no, this is the stupidest thing ever. I hate these damn cars. I never want to see a car with a fender again. You never say that. There is not any scenario where he gets asked that question and he doesn't give a positive response there. So if that is what we're going on, and maybe he did tweet or something that was more in depth. But if we're just going on that slow pitch lob down the middle in the post race interview, I don't think you can read too much into it.
No. I mean,
but I will say I would love to see him back as a fan. I want him back. I hope he comes back. I hope he comes back and brings a couple of F1 buddies with him.
Me too.
I am too. I mean, but then again, I mean, I'm not an F1 guy. I'm slowly turning into an F1 guy. Slowly but surely, I'm like assimilating into the F1 ranks. But I saw this little video on Kimmy, and he, to me, the best comparison that I can kind of compare him to in terms of like his personality, and I will say what's on my mind, and no one can tell me otherwise. I kind of see him as kind of like a Tony Stewart figure in a way, but not really as brash. Kind of like more. I don't want to say modest, but kind of more soft-spoken. In a way, I don't want to say Dale Earnhardt, but kind of on that range.
I like that.
You're the F1 guy. Would you kind of agree with that?
I would say it's probably a lot like Harvick. Really, 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 really good, obviously, but very soft-spoken. I think Harvick is very soft-spoken, but I think Tony Stewart's not a bad comparison as well.
Yeah, I mean he will say what's on his mind, and he will make it clear. Yeah. So I think if he said that he had a good time with this car, I mean, I'm willing to lay some money on that, saying yeah, he probably meant it. I mean, he was up there. He was up there in the top 10, battling one of the champion 2 years ago. So yeah, I mean, I would say that he had a good time. I mean, his car was obviously great. So yeah, I mean, why not? I mean, of course, I'd love to have him back. Then we got Mark Thomas saying green flag. See, I think that's it for
Mike Cora and Mark Thomas said green flag.
Yep. I'm gonna go with them. Also, Mark. I appreciate you tuning into the show, man. Awesome job. Thank you. All right, so we're on our last green flag, red flag question of the night, and I think this is all we have been waiting for. We will see a new winner at Daytona, which will eliminate Blaney and Truex from the playoffs. Green flag, red flag. Zach, what do you think?
I'm gonna say red flag. I think we see a new winner, but I don't think it will eliminate Blaney and Truex because I think that Blaney gets it done, in my opinion. So we'll see, but I think there's too many guys with a win that. I mean, when you look at it, 34 points separate second through sixth in points. So they're still racing for points, right? And so they're not going to put themselves in harm's way in stage 1 and stage 2 simply because they don't care. That doesn't matter for them. I mean, those points position matters. Second and third are still up for grabs in the regular season championship, which equate to a lot of playoff points. So I think that a bunch of these guys are probably going to try and play it safe to try and get as many points as possible. And then you're going to have the guys that don't have a win tend to run up front, maybe bar Blaney and Truex. So that way they get the mistakes out early. So I definitely think that we will see a new winner, but I don't think it's going to be from the pool bar Blaney and Truex. It's going to be one of them.
Okay. Tom, what do you think?
Okay, I'll tell you what I think. I think I need a mute button over here for Zach, okay? That was my answer, okay? I even picked Blaney to win the race. I'm over here going, where's the damn mute button? That's exactly
I've got a mute button right here. I can do it.
I was going to be like,
I'm sorry.
This is a trick question. I'm going yellow flag. It is a new winner, but they don't get eliminated. I was going yellow flag. So, and Zach, yeah. I'm shocked here, okay, because let's rewind, okay?
Sure.
When we said we were debating, would there be 13 winners? I said no, and you said yes, and there was. When we said, would there be 14 winners? I said no, and you said yes, and there was. When we said there would be 15 winners, it goes on. You finally convinced me. I'm finally over to the other side and saying, yes, we're going to have a new winner.
All right.
I only had to be wrong 4 different times, I think, before I finally got it. But I'm like, yeah, there will. But it's not going to be somebody that eliminates Blaney because I think he's going to pull it off.
I mean, he has the best statistics at that track. So and by the way, when creating this, I left him open for you for your pick because I knew that he was your guy. So I went with another route. So we let you have the who's hot and your pick for Daytona.
All right. I got my pick, but you stole my answer on the green flag, red flag. All right.
Oh, yeah.
Now I'm in agreement with Zach here. I think it's yellow flag because it's Blaney. A new winner, but doesn't eliminate one.
I mean, you got 15 drivers that already have a win out of, 38 drivers? Odds are looking good for a new driver to win. I mean, there are so many Daytona is unpredictable. You can give an educated guess on who you think's going to win, but at the end of the day, when you boil it down, it's just a guess. I've got to go. I mean, there are so many drivers still eligible to be in the play. Brad Keselowski is still eligible to get into the playoffs. Even with his 100-point penalty he got at the first race in Atlanta, he has somehow worked his way back up to at least have one final shot to get in. And keep in mind, at Daytona, he was one of the best cars here. I think they're gonna bring the same package back, and so I gotta go I gotta go green flag. I think we'll see a new winner there. I think Blaney's gonna be out.
And Truex.
And Truex. I mean, Truex needs to win anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, if Blaney survives stages 1 and 2, Truex is going to be in the I have to win category. So, his best shot was at Richmond, and he did not get it done.
I like Mike Hora's answer. Green flag, but Busch will give up his waiver to allow Truex. Yeah, and to clarify that's the only way that we will see Busch bow out of the playoffs is if he gives up his waiver, because
which he won't.
He already has a confirmed spot, right? So if he knows that he can't,
he's already confirmed for at least round 1.
So if he can't get in, if he's not cleared for the first 3 playoff races, then he can volunteer to give up that waiver to allow somebody else in, and that would be Truex right now. So
but
that's also something to watch. Well, if he can't race in it, then you might want to help a Toyota teammate.
But if you can race, why would you do that?
Right. If you can race, it doesn't make sense. But if you can't race and you can't race for the first 3 races, why not give that spot to Toyota teammate?
I kind of figure by now, Kurt Busch would know that, I'm done for the rest of the year. I figure we would have known that by now.
I mean, for the rest of the year, yeah. But I don't know. It's been a race by race thing. I don't think that we would have thought a couple of races ago that he would have been out for the rest of the regular season, right? So I think it made perfect sense though, because if you don't want to risk it, I mean, and at the time there was a possibility that he would have gotten kicked out of the playoffs if there were multiple new winners. And so, I mean, I guess this kind of decision is making him look smart that, he doesn't necessarily need to run the last 2 races and run the risk of re-injuring himself, especially at Daytona.
Yeah. And I guess that's the unintended beauty of this new system. I mean, if you already have a win earlier in the year, you're essentially locked in unless you have a scenario that we have now, in which case, if 15 drivers get a win, you may not be so safe anymore.
Yeah. But
I guess that's a good thing with this system, because Kurt Busch did earn his win, but I still hate the system. I truly do.
But if I'm Toyota, I'm calm and I'm hounding Kurt Busch and saying, "Hey, are you going to be good? Because we don't want to go into the playoffs and ruin it for another Toyota teammate."
That's true. All right, so that is the end of the green flag, red flag segment. Thank you guys so much for participating. Your participation and comments always keeps us going. Always gives us new feedback. Always gives us new info, and sometimes corrects us when we're wrong, which is never. We are never wrong on this program. I don't know what you guys are talking about. So, Daytona picks. Tom, what do you have?
Well, since you asked, I am going to tell you that my pick for Daytona, to the surprise of no one anymore, is Ryan Blaney. Okay.
What?
He needs to race his way in to be sure because, as we said, this is a wild card, and I think he takes out any doubt by racing his way in by grabbing a win. He won this race last year. He finished fourth at Daytona and had a shot to win it until his teammate Austin Cindric puts him in the wall, and he was 11th at Talladega. So one of the things that I thought I heard Dale Jr. say one time is when they asked him, who right now is the best plate racer out there? Who's the best guy at restrictor plate tracks? And he said, anything can happen, and it's kind of a crapshoot. But he said, when you look at the picture, when they're crossing the start-finish line and a checkered flag is waving, who is always in the picture? They may not always win, but they are there at the end. They are in the picture when they are crossing that start-finish line, and that guy right now is Ryan Blaney, okay? So I am saying he is my favorite to win. My dark horse, and I am going to the darkest of dark horses here, Austin Dillon, okay? He's won at Daytona before. He has proven that if he is in contention at the end, he will be as aggressive as he needs to get that car to the front. Anybody want to doubt me, just roll back the tape of the Coca-Cola 600 this year, okay? So if he is anywhere close to the front, he will put 8 cars into the wall if he has to get the win. I don't categorize him as an overly aggressive driver unless he has a chance to win, in which case he will take that aggression meter and it will be pegged. So, and by the way, he's coming off a second place finish at Talladega in the spring, so he just did pretty well in his last plate track. So Austin Dillon is my dark horse. So there you go. Ryan Blaney, Austin Dillon. That's my picks.
Alrighty, Zach, your picks look honestly pretty good.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Toyota dominance. I'm going to go with Denny Hamlin. Hamlin has led in all but 2 of the last 10 super speedway races he's running. He has 2 wins and 5 top 5s in that span, although his last 2 finishes at Daytona are 37th and 13th respectively. Toyota has found speed as of late, and that's why I think he is the first driver besides Elliott to 3 wins. And then for my dark horse, I'm going to go with Bubba Wallace, another Toyota driver. After Pocono, it really kind of solidified it for me. They've really done well with this speedway package. Daytona is Bubba's best track with an average finish of 13.4, which is saying something considering the carnage that tends to happen there. In 7 career races, he has finished outside the top 20 just once. Toyotas have also seemed to have found some speed at the larger tracks this season, and that's why I think Bubba could get it done.
Okay.
By the way, Bubba Wallace, last 5 restrictor plate races, average finish of 7.8, number 1.
And I think the confidence...
He was going to be my dark horse until you took him.
Well, you take my my Daytona pick, I'll take your dark horse. How about that?
That's an even trade. I'll take that. That's a fair trade.
I think something I didn't notice before, though, is that Bubba Wallace signed a new contract, and I think that's only going to help him as far as confidence level. He's not going into Daytona as a need a win scenario. He's locked in for the next couple of years at 23-11, so this year doesn't necessarily matter. And that's just something that I thought of just now.
That's also true. All right, so for my picks, Tom and Zach, you can already tell from my headlines, I'm praying for chaos because why not? But my picks do have some sort of logic in there. There is some oh God, how do you say it? Method to my madness. For my pick, and yes, this is my pick, I'm going Brad Keselowski because he seems to be really good at the restrictor plate races. I mean, granted, last time he went to Daytona, I mean, he could have had a car to win this race, but I believe got caught in a crash or he got shuffled out of line or something. But he had a real good car that day. as well as Chris Buescher. Both shown to have real speed at Daytona. And plus, the Fords seem to have found something in this car to get them a little bit of speed. And so I guess that's my reasoning for picking Brad Keselowski. And for my dark horse, I'm going Corey LaJoie. Laugh all you want, but last year Corey LaJoie had a realistic shot to win that race and get him into the playoffs. But this season he's mathematically out of it. He's not racing for anything. But I think a win for Corey LaJoie would be tremendous for that guy. I mean, so nice, so humble, so deserving of a win and for better equipment. And plus, at Atlanta, he again had a realistic shot to win that race, if not for a Chase Elliott Logano-esque block. And so I think he could have very easily won that race. And so that's why I'm picking him as my dark horse. One, for both of these drivers have shown speed at Daytona. Two, because these drivers have shown speed at bigger tracks. And three, because of chaos and madness. Not necessarily in that order.
If this season has been anything, it's been chaos and madness. So I won't laugh at you, at least not on the air.
I'm just following.
I won't laugh at you on the air.
No, that's fine. You can go ahead and laugh.
This game looks so ugly.
What?
Sorry.
What?
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Anyway.
All right. I think that brings us up to our white flag, where everyone gets to make a parting comment. It could be anything race-related, life-related, or anything you want to talk about. So this is usually where we go unscripted. We really don't have much written on the agenda. Anybody got anything they want to jump in with here on our white flag segment? All right, I will jump in then. If you guys, do you guys have something, Aaron? Do you have something?
I was going to say that I said it during the intro of this podcast, but I'm going to this race, and this is the first time I think over 10 years I'll be going to a NASCAR race. I think the last race I went to was the Bristol race, I think in 07 or 08 was the last time that I went to a NASCAR race. And so I'm so excited to go. I've already got plans made for Daytona. I'll visit every square corner of that place if I could, but I'm so looking forward to this trip. It is needed. Again, 2 years in the making. And I really hope Daytona lives up to the hype that I'm giving it. And so I'm excited to go.
Cool. Okay, I don't have anything as exciting as a race, but I got three things that I'm going to talk about here, and I'll try to be brief on them. First off, Kimi Räikkönen, okay, and we talked about his comments and whether he would come back and whether he wanted to come back and everything. Let me just say, on behalf of myself and whatever segment of the NASCAR fan base that I represent, Kimi, come back. We loved having you. You were great for the sport. You put on a great show. You had a competitive ride. I hope you had a good time. We loved having you. You're welcome back. Let me, on behalf of whatever small segment I represent, let me invite you back with open arms. Please come back, Kimi. But when you come back, bring a couple of your F1 buddies with you, because I think it would make an even better show if you had a couple of your F1 buddies come across the pond and race with us. So that is my first comment.
He speaks for me also.
Second, Tyler Reddick has been running, I don't know how many races this year, with the 3CHI or 3CH. I don't even know how you pronounce whatever it is, that paint scheme and that sponsor on it. And apparently some people did not understand that was a cannabis-related product. And now they are suddenly offended by the fact that we have a cannabis company sponsoring a NASCAR. Can I just say, I have seen some ironic things in my life, but this may take the cake. We have a sport built by illegal moonshiners who now has a fan base that is offended by legal marijuana, okay? I just point this out because of the sheer irony that I see in it. And finally, on a more serious note, tomorrow is the first day of school here in Jackson County, West Virginia. My son's starting his last year at Ripley Middle School as a big eighth grader. So I'm hoping we have a great year this year. If you guys could include not just him, but all the kids in your thoughts and prayers. His last semester last year was absolutely awful between COVID and tonsillitis. He gutted it out, but it was just a struggle every day. So I am praying that he has a better year this year, but I'm so proud of him for gutting it out last year. But school starts tomorrow, so go Vikings and let's have a great year.
As a college student myself going through school last year, I completely understand. It was not fun.
I completely understand that too. Wishing him the best. To your point earlier, Tom, we had I've seen people calling back for Winston, the cigarette company and other tobacco related companies to sponsor NASCAR cars for throwbacks, for regular season, all that good stuff. And then you're gonna be offended by a cannabis company. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So oh gosh. Aaron, are you able to pull up a photo that I sent in the group chat or no?
I possibly can. Hold on.
Well, while you're pulling it up, this has to be one of the most ugliest schemes I have ever seen on a NASCAR car.
Okay.
I'm appalled by it.
Hell.
So I get it. I get it. You know, you want to keep the blue aspect of Richard Petty, but why is there black and gold on the front and then complete white in the back, and then you got this random blue and orange? This has to be one of the ugliest schemes I've ever seen. I hope they paid Richard Petty a lot of money for this, because this is the ugliest drivable billboard I have ever seen in a long time.
This literally looks like we took the hood and fenders from one car, the doors from another car, a hood from a different car, and then like the trunk from a third or fourth car or whatever, and just kind of put it together with whatever body pieces we could find.
Why is there a blue line in the nose?
That's what I was wondering. Like, why? Why is it there?
If you're gonna do this, make the whole front like somewhat the same color.
Yeah, I mean, normally black makes anything look good. You know, the black number 3. There's a black CHI car, which actually looks really good. Black usually enhances things. For here, it's one of those rare instances to where it ruins it. No. Hey,
people are liking it too.
Keep the blue and the gold. That blue and gold, okay, that's a really good combination.
Shit.
Blue, gold, and black looks terrible.
I'm sorry. There are people actually loving this too. They're like, "Oh my gosh, what a good scheme! That's eye candy."
No.
I'm sorry. I can't. This is ridiculous. Anyway, I just wanted to share because I just couldn't hold it in anymore. I wanted to share how ridiculous
if you remove the monstrosity that is the hood and the nose, and from where the gold and the black meet, go back, it looks good. It is a good scheme. Why is the black there?
Why not make it white? Because then that would match the back.
Just make it white,
and then it would actually flow together very well.
Yes,
but
why
I don't know.
Again, this is to where the black ruins it.
Anyway, this is why I guess we're not scheme designers, Aaron.
Awesome. I mean,
we don't have any good ideas.
We should be scheme designers. If this is what they're making out, then no.
Anyway, I just wanted to share that.
But I will say, this is the worst scheme that I have seen probably since, this first or second week of the season.
Yeah.
Besides that, they've been really good. I've been happy with the schemes for the most part. But just Not that one. No.
Okay, I want to touch on one more comment before we leave here. Okay, Mark had made a comment earlier about NASCAR arguably does not have the best drivers in the world. He was referencing IMSA and F1. And I love NASCAR. I absolutely love NASCAR, have since I was a kid. And I will be the first to tell you, I can barely spell F1. So I know nothing about F1. So I would never say anything disparaging about them or the IMSA guys because I know nothing about it. But just being purely objective, okay, if you want to make a case that F1 has the best drivers in the world, if you were to make that case, the best comment or best case you can make is you roll that Watkins Glen footage from Sunday. Take a guy who's a retired F1 driver who hasn't been to that track in probably 10 or 20 years in a car that he knows nothing about, and he goes up against the best in the world and runs top 10 most of the race. That's a pretty strong argument that he comes from a series that has some pretty elite drivers in it. So as much as I love NASCAR and would always defend it as great racing, if you were to make the argument that that F1 has the best drivers, that Watkins Glen race on Sunday, roll that tape. That's a pretty good argument.
Absolutely. I mean, we've of course, here in NASCAR land, we've always seen how drivers from across the pond come in to NASCAR and don't really have that much good success. I mean, probably the best case you could have is, I believe, Andretti, who actually won the Daytona 500, and then of course, in more recent times, you had Marcus Ambrose, you had Juan Pablo Montoya, those kind of drivers who came from different racing backgrounds came to NASCAR and had some success.
Juan Pablo Montoya was a race winner in Formula One before he went to IndyCar and then NASCAR. But
yeah,
as far as champions, yes, Mario Andretti.
They've always had a hard time adjusting to when it comes to NASCAR is that the NASCAR racing is so close that they can run within inches of each other lap after lap and not make contact for the most part. That, and it's kind of equates to golf a little bit. Okay, there's an old saying about golf where they say golf is a game where the object of the game is to put a little white ball in a hole in the ground using tools that are completely unsuited to the task. You are taking these big, heavy, boxy cars and trying to make them do something that if you were going to build a car to go around and around in a circle, you would never design that kind of car if that's what you were going to do with it. So they're big, they're boxy, they're heavy, they're kind of hard to maneuver and control because they're big and boxy and heavy. But no, that display Raikkonen put in on Sunday, that was impressive.
Yeah, and then you can always go the opposite way of Jimmy Johnson running in IndyCar and not having a whole lot of success.
On the oval, he's doing well, but yes, of course.
On the ovals, yeah. But, I mean, again, it's Jimmy Johnson, 7-time Cup champion, can win on any circuit you put him on in a Cup car.
If I was to argue you on that point, though, I would say that the 2021 or 22 Jimmy Johnson is not the same as the 7-time Jimmy Johnson champion. Keep in mind, he didn't even make the playoffs as one of the top 16 drivers his final season.
That's true.
I hate to say it, but his skill level had dropped off significantly. But anyway, we can debate that a different time. We have been on here an hour and a half. It's been fun. It's been action-packed. We've had a lot to say. We've had a lot of great interaction with our viewers. But I think it's time for us to say goodbye.
Apparently, I made my first joke ever.
I just saw that comment, so I didn't want to bring it up.
So you're welcome. That was a one-off experience. Next week, I'm going to be a lot more serious. I'm not going to slip up.
He finally told his first joke. Oh my gosh, our little boy's growing up.
Anyway, let's end this thing because I want to go to bed.
All right, guys.
All right. See you guys. Good night. Thanks for playing along.
Thanks for tuning in.
We'll see you next week.
Tuesday
at 9 o'clock. Tune in. Tell your friends. Tell your neighbors. Bring them along. We need more viewers.
Your mailman.
Absolutely. Your mailman, your dog, your third grade best friend. Just go ahead and tell them. All right. As always, guys, have fun. Be safe.